I'm Gabrielle, the Hot Yoga Doctor. I've been helping thousands of people around the world with my approach to hot yoga. My mission is to take the struggle out of your hot yoga practice and find the sweet spot in every pose. Today we're talking about something that sounds like it should be a simple subject because we all do it. And because it's there in everyone, often it's taken for granted as something that simply operates in the background on autopilot. This video will help you to learn how to stay calm in situations where there is a lot of stress in your life, help you learn how to hold your yoga poses longer without panic or lack of focus, learn how to extend your athletic performance, or if you sing or play a sport as a hobby, help you find improvement there, or simply if you just want to feel more vital. Yes, you guessed it, we're talking about breathing. You could almost say it's a cure-all. Luckily for you, it does happen automatically and keeps you alive. Learning to breathe properly is a skill that most people put aside because of its reliable set and forget nature. And just like any technique, you can do this with varying degrees of skill and with good and bad effect. So, have you managed to nail it? Have you managed to sort out your breathing in class? Do you still have challenge in breathing in big forward or big back bends? Do you still wonder why you have to make that noise in your throat when you do pranayama? And what is the link between this first important exercise and the rest of the class? We tend to have a disciplined focus when we're practicing yoga. However, where the rubber really hits the road is where you have stresses thrown at you outside of the studio when you aren't practicing yoga asana. Maybe you feel angry with your child for some reason, or you feel stress making a presentation, or panic doing something new or unfamiliar. Maybe you lose your breath with minimal exertion or can't seem to switch off your mind enough to simply fall asleep. Learning the skill of breathing and how to access it in times of stress is a journey in itself. I often say in class that relaxation is a learned skill. You can see how students visibly learn to let go and tune into themselves. This skill is inextricably linked to your ability to breathe and to focus on your breath. And just like any skill, with practice it becomes instinctual and automatic. The question is, have you developed the right automatic breathing techniques and response to stressful situations? It can take a long time to learn how to breathe and unravel the years of poor technique that comes about by poor breathing habits. Some of these are due to the effects of our experiences and our emotional well-being. It's not necessary to go into the autonomic nervous system to a great degree because I think we can distill the essence of it without too much anatomical and physiological jargon. Let's just say that unlike most body systems, you actually have both conscious and unconscious control of your breathing. You have specialized centers in your brain that automatically regulate the rate and depth of breathing and depending on what your body needs at any time. Most people have heard of the fear, flight and fright response that the body has and its effects. The breath moves out of the lower torso and up to the top of the chest. It's here that our nervousness or excitement can make the breath shallow and light. Many people breathe like this most of the time. The lungs can feel stuck and unable to expand. The breath feels caught there and doesn't move around the body. Any expansion may not only feel very uncomfortable, but could actually bring up many strong emotions. If you've heard of the parasympathetic nervous system, you may know that it helps balance your states of fear, flight, fright, excitement, and other aroused states. Almost like magic, you can access the calming effects of this system through your breath. Pranayama is breathing with mindful control. Practice of pranayama increases the tone of your parasympathetic nervous system, your ability to be calm under pressure, and improves your overall emotional and physical health. As a teacher, I can tell you students put a lot of effort into performing the pranayama techniques at the beginning and end of class, but in between it can be hard to know how to keep up the good work. Ideally, you want to breathe with the diaphragm in conjunction with great posture. You can't really have great breathing with a poor posture, and poor posture makes it difficult to use your diaphragm fully. You do have control over both. The diaphragm is just like any other muscle in the body. It needs proper use to learn to use it correctly, and it works when you inhale. It's a band of muscle that fits neatly in a curve under your lungs above your abdomen. When it contracts, it has the effect of moving down, enlarging the thoracic cavity where the lungs and heart are, and helps draw the air in. When it moves down, negative pressure is created in the thoracic cavity that helps draw the air down into the lungs. When you breathe out, the diaphragm relaxes. There's no diaphragmatic work involved here. The positive pressure inside the lungs helps propel the air out. And of course, the inflated lungs and rib cage contract to deflate the lungs. When you watch a baby, you can see how they draw the breath into the belly. They know diaphragmatic breath naturally. What is it about our lives that has us losing this ability, where we have to retrain ourselves to find and relearn how to activate a full and deep breath that uses more of the lungs? Why does it become hard to use the diaphragm? There's a very complex answer to that, which is best left to another time, but it is a combination of your habits plus emotional and physical factors. You know, you can actually breathe without really using your diaphragm, and even with very little or almost imperceptible expansion of your lungs and rib cage. I'll leave it to you to work out how effective your body can function when you breathe like that. It sounds almost unreal to say that the quality of your life is directly proportional to your ability to breathe fully. Luckily, most yogis, regardless of experience, have some idea of this fact. Many people don't realize that they have to relearn how to do it because none of us can remember our first breath, and we can't monitor when it changed or why. It is probably the single most important element to you. Your emotional and physical growth, your well-being, and your life depend on it. Now, I think I would like to go back a step or two for an analogy I use to describe how your posture can determine how much air your lungs can fill with. We touched on it in my instructional video, Elbows in the Back Pockets. When you use your physiology of happiness, when your elbows are in your back pockets and your breastbone is lifted, you literally create more space in your chest cavity that allows your lungs to expand into the space. I received dozens of personal emails how this simple technique has changed yoga practices and transformed lives around the world. You will find that video on the Hot Yoga Doctor website. You have been given a certain amount of body tissue that you can work with. An unerected circus tent that lays on the ground has the same amount of material as when it is pitched and filled with people. It's totally up to you to stand in a way that will either make it hard or really easy to fill your tent up with air. Elbows in your back pockets helps you transform your body to create the space that you can fill with air, to deepen your breath and have access to amazing potential. But that's not the whole story. You may be able to transform a poor posture, but the ability to create the opening in your lungs may take some time. When your lungs have been underperforming in their limited space, they take time to grow. Now that your chest can rise to the challenge, how do you actually grow your lungs to fill the space? How do you move away from that shallow high at the top of the chest breath and start to access your life's potential? By cultivating good breathing habits to go along with your good posture. My story might be like yours. When I first started this yoga, my breath was very shallow and very weak. I'm not kidding when I tell you that for a whole 5 months doing 6 to 8 classes per week that I had to take an extra breath somewhere during the pranayama exercise. I want to thank Jody, my first teacher, for the way she held each breath for more like 10 seconds rather than 6. Back then, I didn't know how long it was supposed to be held for, but I'm positive that holding your breath with fully inflated lungs was one of the keys that helped me grow my lungs. Here is a reason why breathing the breath in deeply and avoiding short, shallow breaths at all costs is important. When you breathe, you draw air from the outside through your nose or mouth, and then through your trachea, and then into your lungs where all your alveoli are. Your lungs only perform the gaseous exchange once the air gets past the bronchi and reaches the alveoli.